Meet Ashi. To the rest of her Delhi private school, she was invisible, a quiet girl with average marks who always walked a half step behind her hyper-confident, stylish best friend, Kiara. Ashi drew her social stability entirely from Kiara's shadow, rarely noticing that her own interests, like the private songs she recorded on her phone late at night, stayed hidden. That invisibility ended when Arav, the school's basketball captain, noticed her. During a crowded lunch hour, Ashi spilled her coffee, becoming the target of the canteen's collective laughter. Arav didn't just ignore it. He stepped in, made a joke to diffuse the crowd, and handed her a napkin. Their relationship moved quickly. Shared notes turned into late-night voice notes, where Ashi finally felt comfortable sharing the rough melodies she'd been writing in secret. Within 2 months, they were a couple, and for the first time, Ashi felt like her life was finally coming into focus. But there's a danger in building a life where your value is entirely tied to the people around you. When your confidence is a gift given by a best friend and a boyfriend, you lose the ability to see when those same people begin to take it back. The shift started with small, easily ignored comments. Kiara began staying late after every hangout, offering Arav unsolicited advice on his clothes or his game, and showering him with praise that felt just a little too personal. Ashi told herself it was just Kiara being supportive. Then the physical boundaries shifted. Kiara began appearing on the back of Arav's bike after tuition, claiming her cab had been canceled. On his phone, the notification light started blinking more frequently with Kiara's memes, often while Ashi was sitting right next to him. The first real fracture appeared late one evening. Ashi glanced at Arav's phone as it vibrated on the table. It was a message from Kiara, "Miss you already," punctuated with a red heart emoji. When Ashi asked about it, Kiara didn't flinch. She laughed, telling Ashi she was being dramatic and that it was a joke between friends. She used Ashi's own history of shyness against her, making the question feel like a symptom of Ashi's own insecurity. This is how limits are eroded. A manipulator pushes a boundary, and if they meet resistance, they repackage the violation as a joke. It's a way to measure exactly how much someone will tolerate before they finally break. The doubt ended with an anonymous photo sent to Ashi's DM. It showed Kiara and Arav tucked away in a corner of a cafe, their chairs pulled close, with Arav's hand resting firmly over Kiara's. Ashi confronted Arav immediately, but he didn't apologize. Instead, he became cold and irritable. He told Ashi that her suffocating need for reassurance was the real problem, turning the conversation away from his actions and onto her character. Kiara joined the attack, acting hurt and offended that Ashi would spy on them. By the end of the hour, they had teamed up to convince Ashi her eyes were lying, leaving her completely isolated in her own home. This creates a specific kind of mental fog. By denying a clear reality and attacking the victim's perception, the betrayer forces the other person to rely on the abuser's version of the truth just to feel stable again. The pressure worked. Confused and desperate to keep her social circle intact, Ashi found herself apologizing for doubting the two people who were actively betraying her. In this dynamic, the victim is forced to take moral responsibility for the betrayal.
It's a mechanism that ensures the person being hurt stays quiet, effectively protecting the lie from the inside. The breaking point was undeniable. Passing the music room after school, Ashi heard a familiar laugh. She pushed the door open to find Arav and Kiara together, and in that moment, the lies finally ran out of space. On a call that night, Kiara finally dropped the mask. She admitted her interest in Arav grew from a lifelong resentment, a need to prove she could take whatever Ashi had, simply because Ashi was the one everyone seemed to like more. Ashi retreated into total silence. The panic attacks made it impossible to go to class, and the final blow came when she refreshed Instagram to see them together, officially a couple, less than a week after her life imploded. As she sat in the dark, her older brother, Kabir, finally stepped in. He didn't offer sympathy. He offered a hard truth. He told her that if she let these people decide her worth now, she was giving them permission to control the rest of her life. Rock bottom strips away the illusions. It is a brutal process, but it removed the noise of Kiara and Arav's opinions, leaving Ashi with the only thing they couldn't take, the music she had been perfecting in the dark.
Ashi stopped hiding. She returned to school with a quiet, focused energy, ignoring the whispers in the hallway. She didn't seek a confrontation. Instead, she walked into the admin office and registered for the solo performance slot at the annual fest. On the night of the fest, the tension in the auditorium was thick. Kiara and Arav had just finished a romantic dance to heavy applause, their status as the school's it couple seemingly cemented. Then the lights dimmed for Ashi. As she sang, the room went completely silent. It wasn't just a school performance. It was the voice of Mystic Voice, the anonymous artist whose channel had been quietly growing to hundreds of thousands of subscribers. The reveal by the host afterward confirmed what Ashi had known all along. She had a world they weren't invited to. Watching from the front row, Kiara and Arav's expressions shifted from pity to shock. The girl they thought they had discarded was actually someone they couldn't even reach. Their leverage over her was gone. Reclamation isn't an eye for an eye. It's about demonstrating a level of personal value and success that makes the betrayer's presence entirely irrelevant to your future. Backstage, Arav and Kiara approached her. Their frantic apologies were triggered only by the sudden realization that Ashi now held the social capital they craved. Ashi didn't argue. She told Kiara that the friendship was the only thing she actually regretted losing. Then she turned and walked away. As she moved toward the exit, the two of them literally blurred into the background. 3 months later, Ashi's career was accelerating. Meanwhile, Kiara and Arav's relationship fell apart under the weight of their own mutual distrust. A bond forged through betrayal rarely survives the lack of a common enemy. When Kiara eventually sent a long message months later, describing how much she missed her sister, Ashi looked at the screen for a moment. Then she deleted the thread without replying. Ashi's story changed the moment she realized she didn't need their permission to be seen. The betrayal was painful, but it was the eviction notice needed to stop living in someone else's shadow and start standing.